Let's talk cutting our rafters. So if you remember on the last video, I showed you a rafter. I told you I'd specifically talk about how to actually get this cut and get these angles on it. So a few things you're going to need to know on a set of plans when you get it, it's going to tell you what the quote unquote what the pitch of the roof is. And for our roof, it's a 612. And what that means in practical terms, it's just the one side of the triangle. You got the span, which is the total side of the roof, because it's going to form a triangle. And then you've got the run of what you're actually covering, and you've got the rise of how far up you got. So if you have 12 feet of run, you would have 6 feet of rise, and we call that 612 or 6/12. And you'll see it expressed a lot of times. On most sets of plans, you'll see a kind of a funky little line. It'll have a 6 on one end and a 12. And we always use the 12. 12 is a factor. So there's many ways to express it. Sometimes they actually draw an actual triangle, but the run's always 12, and the rise can be any other number. It's usually some even number. Most common pitches or roofs around here are 6, 8, 10, and sometimes 12 roofs, which are pretty steep. The bigger the number, the more steep it is. So what we're going to talk about is cutting some of these rafters out. So if you do the math, you look at our plan, you find out that you need a rafter that's 8 inches long, but remember what I told you, and we're going to add an inch to it for extra bit of overhang, because it'll make contact right here, and the last inch here will be hanging out past our sidewall, so it gives us a 1 inch overhang. So if you remember right, I said we have to have an 8 inch and then add an inch, so the total length of this rafter from long point to short point is going to be 9 inches. And the reason we angle these things when you set them on the side of the house is so that they flush to the house, because there's more wood that we add to the outside of this. You add a piece of false fascia, then you add a piece of pretty finished fascia on it. So if you ever look at the outside of your house, you're going to have a board that's about 6 to 8 inches wide sitting there that you're going to look at that's flat, that's nice and painted. Sometimes we wrap them in metal, and they make a lot of different products. So now we're back to our old friend, the speed square. If we can see on this one, it's got the word common top cuts here and a whole bunch of numbers down this side. And if we'll look right here, you can find the number 6. And this is how we use this pivot point to line up with the edge with the number 6 to set our pitch or set our angle. So I'm going to take my speed square, I'm going to set my pivot point, I'm going to pivot to this number 6 right here, lines up with the outside edge. I'm going to hold it in place, I'm going to mark it, then I'm going to cut it. That's what I would do the first time. Then I would come back and take my tape measure, come down where 9 inches is, put me a mark, and do the same thing again with my speed square. Line it up on the pivot point, the 6, and cut another mark. And we'll cut those 2 pieces off, and you will end up with a rafter that has a 612 pitch on both ends, but it's in reverse. And we express it from long point to short point, 9 inches length, 612 pitch. That's a simple function of cutting a rafter.